All right, welcome back to Building CareCo, the most incredible podcast for tech entrepreneurs and health tech folks and AI folks and other folks, where you get to watch moi and my wonderful co-founder CTO, Shloime Razov, sit down once a week and talk about the wins, the losses, the week, stuff like that.
Weak, the strong.
Yeah, the weak, the strong, and the many. We're making up phrases. Okay. Wild day today. Today's Thursday, June somethingth. 12th. And today, the internet went down. Okay, so basically, I'm sitting there. I was on a meeting with a client. She's like, I have some issues with a dashboard. And I was like, hey, she's probably a new user. So I get on with her. And I'm about to share my screen to show her. And all of a sudden, I see CareCo is like just spinning. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I see boom, boom. And then I see like from staging, I see people all of a sudden starts coming in support. Can't load it. I was like, what? I said, do me a favor. We're having some technical difficulties. Let me see what's going on. I jump off the meeting. I look. I get CareCo's not doing anything. And all of a sudden, ping, 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 and support. And I'm like, what is going on? So Menachem says, oh, I think it's one of our underlying technologies are down. And then he sends a link to one of these like down detector websites. It was called like up, down, I don't know, is down or something. Anyway, so I click the link to check what he's telling me, and that website is down. Right. The website that's supposed to tell you which websites are down is down. And I'm like, what is going on? And so, and at first it was working for you. So you were like, I'm not sure. I'm still seeing it fine. It's up, it's down. I'm like, everything's down. So then we start going website after website after website, down, like massive technologies down. Google Meet, down. I'm like, what in the world is going on? So immediately you send me from Twitter. You're like, yeah, something major is going on. And we see there's this crazy outage. Now, I looked through a little bit, but maybe you can explain, like, when's the last time you saw something like this, and why was this so weird? There was like, oh, these, because what I understood, there's two massive systems, and they're supposedly run independently, and you never think that they would both shut down, and they both shut down. I didn't get the details.
So, if you have a lot of companies that their website, their systems are down, it could all just be one explanation, because most companies are using other services, like Amazon Web Services is the big one, which allows people to host computers. It's the biggest one.
And they were down.
Today they
had outages.
They had outages?
Yes, on the list.
Yeah, you sure?
Yeah, on the list.
And then there's this Google, and then there's the Microsoft Azure, and there's other platforms as well. But it's probably generally it's under 10, 20, 30, reasonable ones that include a lot of stuff. So when you see Etsy, Shopify, Spotify, all these things down, you usually, okay, let's find out what's the underlying platform that these guys are all using, what's in common, and that would make sense. But today, there were a few systems that did not necessarily seem dependent on one another. You had Cloudflare, you had Google Cloud Platform, you had maybe AWS. So it's unclear what happened. Sometimes these things could be interconnected or interdependent in an indirect way that may have caused it. It could be it was an attack. I don't know. I'm curious to read up on it and to see what the explanation there is. But it does seem odd that suddenly, at the same moment, many systems, had a failing thing and it went bad. So we'll find out probably tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so. Well, they'll put out what happened. They probably have to, right?
Yeah. All these companies, they'll do a what they call a postmortem, I think. Postmortem.
Yeah.
They sit down and they sit down and they kind of, what went wrong? What can we do to prevent this next time? Usually they tend to overreact and to listen, Cloudflare is like $100 billion company. So right. If they had 2.5 hours of downtime.
That was the other thing. It wasn't 15 minutes. It was basically the second half of the day. It started at around 2:30 and 4:37.
Another interesting thing is that yesterday, there were also a few random, unrelated things that were down. There was a Roku that hosts a lot of apps. There was another few systems. So something's odd that we need to understand here. But yeah, but Cloudflare, that's a big like tarnish to their name.
And OpenAI was down this week also.
Right, but OpenAI probably uses Cloudflare for
Oh, it was the same time?
CDN. I think so, yeah. OpenAI probably uses Cloudflare for
No,
CDN.
not today. OpenAI was down yesterday. Yesterday or 2 days ago. I think
a few days ago, yeah.
2 days ago. OpenAI was down for like the first like 6 hours of the day.
That's when they reduced the O3 mini. Yeah, I mean, OpenAI is a totally different thing. It's an isolated company, and they're moving very fast, and their growth is crazy. So you could expect these things. Even though as an enterprise, you don't want to think about it that way, but they're doing a pretty good job. But yeah, it's just shows you how fragile the whole system is. Like it's underlying. We're ultimately relying on a few systems that must be, operational all time.
Yeah. So the first thing that happened was I had a little bit of like nachas because of how many people within 10 seconds were pinging support. I was like, so look how many users we have. It's amazing.
Really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, literally dozens of people. Okay, the first thing, as soon as I realized it wasn't us problem,
right,
I was fine.
Yeah.
I literally had meetings while it was down where I was like, hey, yeah, listen, I don't.
In a way, it's worse that it's not an us problem because we can't fix it. Like I felt helpless.
But on the flip side, we didn't do anything. Like we didn't push a update that broke something that that you have people depending on, and we did a bad strategy and didn't let it cook long enough first. And that's not what happened. Literally, like a multi-$100 billion companies went down and cascaded across the entire internet. So that was first of all. So then because I knew that, I was just like ping, 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 ping. So the first thing I did was just like I wrote up a quick message and then I just copy pasted. Boom, boom, boom to everybody. Just responded, hey, we know we're looking into it. Then we put up a banner right away. Wow, there's an issue. And then I updated it. There's a massive issue and it's affecting all these other companies also. And CareCo's affected as well. We'll be up as soon as they're up. But yeah, it was cool to just see like dozens of people within literally, I kid you not, within 15 seconds, dozens of people like, I don't know what's going on. My thing is down. So that was pretty cool. And then, obviously just communicating with clients through different mediums, email, text, WhatsApp, whatever, Teams, Slack, everything. And then it was just a waiting game. And that kind of sucked, obviously, because we know that our clients are down. And the other thing I did was I pulled up all of our competitors. They're not necessarily competitors to CareCo, but other VoIP systems. Like I pulled up Ring Central and I pulled up Dialpad and a couple others. And I was like, oh, they're all down. Also, so I knew like even in the space, Go ahead.
I'll say it later.
No, I was like even in the space, like it's everybody can't make calls. And then I was very happy that we're the first ones to notify across all of our competitors' platforms. We were the first ones to not just be up and running, but notify everyone that we were up and running. Meaning we were on the instant the second that thing was up. We communicated to everybody. Our banner changed, went from red to green like that.
Oh yeah,
in a second. Nice. Yeah, in a second, I changed from red to green. I updated it. We're back up, and I checked for tens of minutes after all the other websites were still outage.
Better than the rest.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how you said the first thing you thought of when you thought of our peers, competitors, so to speak, is phone systems.
I said not CareCo competitors.
I know.
Competitors to the phone app.
Okay. Oh, you're saying because the phone is the critical thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, if we were just...
I just thought it's interesting that you had a switch of mindset where like CareCo is like a phone system. Like it started off as like the side, thing that we added, and then it becomes like this crucial part of it.
No, but that's the thing that is critical to someone's workflow.
Right.
You got to come back and get your notes. Sometimes you get back and, but I was thinking like, it would be bad if, let's say, all the other VoIP systems that know that they're critical to people's workflow, they're up and running, and we're not. That wouldn't be so good. So, so I wanted to check, like maybe they have some sort of secret technology that they're able to keep these things up, but no, everyone's down.
Yeah, I mean, like thinking about ourselves, like in theory, if this was a common thing that could happen, we should think of ways to fail over. But like Cloudflare being unavailable, that's like,
crazy, right?
There's like tens, hundreds of $1 billion companies that are relying on Cloudflare being available, and they also didn't have a plan B because there's no plan B to Cloudflare. Like
it was like a code red situation they had on their updates,
So yeah, I don't know that we can like have a better plan.
No, what everyone does that we saw is they basically it's a game. It's all a game of who you're gonna be mad
pointing
at.
fingers, yeah.
So you basically have a status dot. So you have like, oh, this is my status page because it gets you my status. And then there you
blame game.
Here's the link. Go look at Google. Go look at AWS. Go look at Cloudflare.
It's not me.
It's not me. As soon as this link is green, we're green. Right. You know, and it, by the way, it has its intended effect, meaning it's not BS. Like the other platforms that we were dependent on that all cascaded down to Cloudflare. I wasn't sitting there on their websites. I was sitting on Cloudflare going refresh, 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 you know.
Yeah, it actually refreshes itself. If you're sitting on the issue itself, you didn't trust it.
Absolutely. Now I know, I don't know if this, what is a rage click?
Oh, a rage click is, you see like in Sentry?
Yeah.
It's when someone clicks a lot on something.
Yeah, it doesn't work. So so I'm just rage clicking. It's like, you know.
By the way, I'm just seeing that Cloudflare went down because of Google Cloud.
Could be. Makes sense.
So
it all goes down to
Google Cloud that went down.
Interesting, because they did write that it's one of the third-party providers, and I thought it may be Google. Interesting.
You said that.
And what's interesting is that Google, for like an hour, they were denying that anything's down. You have these, you have probably hundreds of billions of dollars of aggregate of all these companies that are sitting there, you know, with their
probably had billions of dollars
with their hands
in
tied,
business lost,
and their customers, and they're all like this, and Google's like,
what are you talking
everything's good. What are you talking about? It's crazy. It's like it wasn't for 10 minutes, a half an hour. It was
2 hours.
Google denied it for 2 hours?
No.
I mean, but Google denied it for at least an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Oh, so it all started from Google. So that's the explanation?
Yeah, and Google confirmed that they identified the cause, but they, I guess, admitted that it was them.
Wow.
Well, Cloudflare is now going to have a plan B for Google. That's for sure.
Yeah, so it was a wild day, but but whatever. I mean, it didn't hurt. Like in the past, we've talked about problems that like I literally felt like choking, you know, and like it was an issue with our phone, and it was an us issue, and even though some of those things didn't end up being us issues, but like that hurt. This first of all, the picture was clear. You know what it is? It's the unknown. That's what it is. That's the difference. When something's unknown and it's just you, and you know it's you, and it's unknown, it's very difficult. But it's not us. It's very clear what's going on. Go on Twitter and you're going to see everything's down, you know? So whatever. Yeah, it was cool. And then
it's less of a bad image on us because everybody knows it's not you. It's half of the internet's down.
Right.
You know, you're just part of everybody. It's not CareCo's down. It's just half the internet down.
Yep.
How are issues in general lately? Like phone issues?
They've been almost non-existent.
Really?
It's been incredible. Honestly, it's been like amazing.
Is this real wood?
Yeah.
That's good.
There's like
the HD voice, right? It was the HD voice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. We had this feature that like was meant to make audio much better, and it was essentially ruining the call.
It's causing a lot of problems.
A lot of problems. And it looks so bad because people would be moving from an old system to our system, and they'd be making calls and be like, 1 second, I could call this number on this system and I can't on your system. It looked horrible. So we finally identified that was the cause. We got rid of it. And now it's basically, if you have an issue on CareCo, it's either a headset issue or a connectivity issue. Like you don't have good internet.
Nice.
Like
amazing.
Pretty consistently. Or like your browser is super outdated, you know.
We have that?
I had it once, yeah. I had somebody, she's like, oh, CareCo's not working. It's frozen. It looks weird. And I jumped on. So Aura,
it's like old fashioned.
No, Aura jumped on. She was like, I don't know what's going on here. So she pinged me. I jumped in and I saw CareCo. And this is what I told Aura after, like, you have to have confidence. You know the program. You know what CareCo is meant to look like. Like, if one person's CareCo looks like this, you know that's not what CareCo looks like, so you have to start thinking differently. If everybody all of a sudden starts saying, hey, CareCo just froze on me, then we know there's something going on. But if it's one person, you know. So I looked at it, I'm like, I know CareCo enough to be like, yeah, the calendar was like half there and stuck. It looked very weird. So I'm like, and then she happened to jump back over to the Google Meet, and I saw this giant banner on top of Google Meet, which maybe we can implement, I don't know. But there was like a giant banner that was like, your browser is outdated and is not supported by Google Meet. And I was like, something tells me that's the same thing. Go update your browser, come back, and then she was totally fine. You know, but yeah, that's happened for sure. So
very stable place.
Yeah, the phone is really stable. We're hustling on texting and video. Seem like they're coming along really strongly. I actually had a customer today that was looking in like their admin section. They saw the messaging thing where it says like not registered. Like, hey, what's this? What's going on?
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not supposed to see that.
I told him he's not supposed to see that. I should probably tell you he's not supposed to see that.
Oh, it's supposed to be on a feature flag, but they don't see the messaging related stuff.
It's just wait a second, was it?
Or was it FCR?
I don't know if it was messaging or if it was FCR.
Mm-hmm.
So he was FCR. It said not registered.
No, I think the not registered is the messaging.
Yeah.
Text.
It could be. Anyway.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I think we're hustling on those front. The ambient is going really well. I just said last week it's being tested really nicely. There was another client that was rolling it out this week. Yeah, feels good. We've got some really big clients that we're speaking with, and that's I think a whole different animal. Like we've got a really large client now that we're working through, and it's like it's very pleasant actually. Thankfully, first of all, it's a great client, but they've got thousands of patients and very, very different use cases within the company, like different types of care coordination and different types of people on different locations. Some people are in the hospitals, some people are in the doctor's offices, some people are on VPNs from their home. Like it's a whole thing. And it's honestly been fun because we built the infrastructure to be able to customize things. And that's so cool. So like when I have a pharmacist team, that's 5 pharmacists, and they're like, hey, this SOAP note is not cutting it for our conversations. We need a problem note, but we also want the plan section of a SOAP note after the problem note. And then after that, we do a medrec, medicine reconciliation. And so we need it to list out any medications that we discuss in like that form. That's what we need. No problem. Done. We work it out for them. We put it together. We get their template in. Boom. Next team, hey, we're cardiology. We need, first of all, our doctors, all medical terminology should be abbreviations, no full words. So BP, this, that, and the other, a bunch of this. And we want this word exchanged for that word. And to us, it's really important to know in our documentation who called who. If the patient called the doctor called the patient. No problem. Work it out for them. Now your team has your documentation. Your team has your documentation. Like,
and we got it. We got it for them.
Yeah. I haven't. They just started testing it today, so I have to kind of see how it goes. But we got it in for them, and like it's really powerful to be able to customize things like that.
Yeah, it would be nice one day to maybe allow people to do it on their own too.
We will, for sure we will. Because our process, like what I do is quite simple. We don't have it in the front end, so I can do it on the back end. But it's not difficult.
No, but Menachem does it. Menachem says it, the template, the notes template.
Yeah.
You set it up,
Yeah.
you give him the whole text,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you test it?
We don't. We give it to them to test.
No, but how do you know how to set up
I have a format that I use.
and how do you know that it's going to work well on their calls? Or you don't?
So we tell them to test it.
Okay, so you don't have a way to test it. Okay. So ideally you would be able to test it too, or somebody at CareCo.
Actually, I think Menachem tests it first. I think he tests it first. But I like kind of put it together and whatever.
Okay.
But even just that process of like, letting the user mess around and choose what they want and whatever. Anyway,
Right.
I think it's very doable. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. And this client actually, it's like so cool when this happens. This guy's telling me that he's like running around the country getting himself, so he does care coordination services, getting himself a bunch of new clients, massive companies, health systems and payers, and his like strategy to, not only is he getting new clients, he's getting clients to drop their existing care coordination teams internally and hire him to do it externally. And his like strategy of telling them why he's going to do better than them is CareCo. So he pulls up CareCo and he's like, this is why we're better than you. Check this out. And they're like, oh my gosh. And he said they're loving it. It's like,
So that's his like edge, like is like, I'm using this cutting edge technology that makes me
I had a
much
new
better.
client today. I had a new client today that she found us. She's trying to set up her own company. So she hired another company to be a consultant for her. And then that company saw CareCo and was like, damn, we need this. So they got in touch with us, and they're a very large client. Okay. Or whatever, somewhat large client. They got in touch with us. They're using CareCo. She hears that they're got in touch with me, and she is a little bit nervous and kind of upset a little bit because she's like, I'm okay if they use CareCo for themselves, but I can't have them advise anyone else use CareCo because CareCo is my edge, is going to be my edge in the market. I don't want them, and it's not fair. I showed them what CareCo is. They can't take CareCo. This is like my hidden secret. And
the word's out.
I told her, I said, listen, I said, tools are tools, and then there's going to be people that choose to use them. you know, and then there's how do you use them. So I'm like, at the end of the day, CareCo is an amazing enabler and it's amazing technology, but you have to choose to use it and you have to choose to use it well.
Right. Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, you know, you can't, I don't feel like first of all, you can't operate based on fear. You can't be sitting there making decisions because someone might find out that you use a certain technology. That's first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, it's up to you and how you choose to use it. But like just that concept that there's literally, we have clients that are like, don't want to tell other people about us because we are their edge. I mean, that's an amazing thing to have. That's so cool.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Wild. Give me a lot of nachas. Yeah. So what did you do this week?
What did I do this week? That's a good question. You're Elon Musking me. Like, give me 5 things you did this week, or you're fired.
What did you do this week?
Yeah, I did a lot of important stuff, you know. Diddled around.
Are you getting bored of the texting yet, or you're kind of? It feels like you're moving through it. Like, it doesn't feel like you're getting stuck in one thing for like.
No, I broke it up, I think, properly in a good way. So it's a huge project, but I broke it up, and yeah, this week I made a lot of progress on text. Maybe it's a bit naive, but I think within a week we may have a prototype or some very basic demo working. Still a lot of things to work out. How do you show notifications? How do you show the pop-up? I was talking to Shloime today. Maybe he had ideas around it. Mm-hmm. We need to rethink this whole like the floating phone concept on the app. Like we have that, but now we're gonna have messages too. It could be too much.
You want floating messages?
Do you want to know that someone messaged you quickly? Maybe
it's a notification.
Respond.
Difference in notification.
Right. That's what I mean. Like I don't know.
So you talked about this, kind of like sliding down on your phone. You could basically reply like a one-liner.
Maybe, yeah.
When you want to see something, you're going to your app. You know what I mean?
Or there's an idea, I think you had this months ago, where you said the dial pad could have like 2-3 tabs: phone, messages. Remember? Video.
Right.
And then you click through them, and then the dial pad becomes like this fancy communication tool. But I don't know if we want that. Maybe we want more of like the communication, the intercom style, where you have like your people on the left, your communication.
Why can't we have both?
Log in the middle, and well.
Why can't we have both? One's like a mini pop-up thing, and one.
No, it makes sense because the proper one is.
I want to work in text. I want to be like, if I decide I'm going to go text all my patients right now, I want to be in a texting environment. If I'm like doing things, then I want access to like multiple things.
Right. No, it seems like each one has their strength. But going back to the conversation we had today and yesterday, Shloime is like, do we want to be the platform that like enables a lot of things, but then you're like, you could do things in a million ways, and it could get overwhelming or confusing at some point, or do we want to like figure out what's the best workflow for our users and kind of create a very clear path? And it doesn't mean that we're gonna lock out the other one, but we can create these flows where based on certain users, we can configure and say this is in like, you know, care coordination mode where they start here, they end there, takes them very clearly through the process. Maybe popping messages is actually a distraction. Maybe if they're focusing on a quality call, they're looking at the call guide, why suddenly show them messages? Maybe it's a bad idea. It seems to us like a good idea, right? Because
you could always turn it off. You know what I mean? Like,
I know, but that's like saying, that's already not being opinionated. It's being like, we'll make the platform flexible. You could not. I'm saying the best experience is when you tell the person, here, we figured it out for you. Try it. It may take a few days to adapt, but you're going to love it at the end. And then so it's like, oh my God, I just start my day, just go through it and I'm done and it's all done. Right. As opposed to like, oh, you need to click here, you can go here, you can pop back out, you can click this, you can, so you know, when you present someone with a lot of options, usually they have like, they get stuck, I think, in many ways. But if everything's very clear, it's also obvious. You go from here to there. So I'm not necessarily saying that we don't need to do the floating phone and messaging thing. It does seem powerful. But yeah, if we are doing that, we need to figure out how do we make it not overwhelming, right? Because the idea is you want to be on the page that you're on while also being able to like quickly look at the phone or at the message and respond or not lose context of the page. But on the other hand, we also don't want to make too many floating things because then, and what I mean by floating is like the stuff on top of CareCo while you're doing other stuff on CareCo.
And there's the larger concept that you brought up. It was your idea a bit ago, and then it was brought up again today by a client that we're speaking with, which is like creating this concept. And I want to talk through it because I think it's important. I think it could be interesting, but I have some objections that I need to think through. Like this concept that instead of, it's almost like an AI first workflow take on a CRM, essentially. Where right now your standard CRM is like, okay, you have a system. Your system has lines. Each line is a let's say a patient. In our case, it's a patient. And then in the patient, you have things that you have to do for the patient. You have information about the patient. You have different places that you could go. And then there's this other concept that's like an AI first type thing where it's like, what's the bottom line? My bottom line is I want to take care of patients and I want to be productive and I want to be efficient. That's my bottom line, right? Okay, so what if I could just like press go and take in the concept of CareCo, where CareCo is like the brain of the care coordinator. What if CareCo does not just, hey, here's how to speak to this patient, but here's your day. And all I do is I get up in the morning and again, some of these questions are like, okay, so does CareCo have a scheduler? Does CareCo connect to a scheduler? Or does maybe the first thing I do is I basically stack a bunch of patients. I say, okay, these are the ones I want to deal with. So it's kind of like a mini scheduler. It's not my actual schedule, but I get to choose. And then you just press go. And CareCo basically looks at all the things that need to be done for all the patients and looks at best times to call the patient and who's most likely to pick up when and whatever. And then says, okay, go. Right now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at the EMR because Shloime was meant to have an appointment with the doctor yesterday and that's in the EMR. So you got to go there and grab that information. Okay, now you have that information. Let's go to the patient profile. Now or not even patient profile. You don't have to go anywhere. Here's your call guide. Boom. Call him, ask about these things. Okay, we finish. Now we're going to do your documentation. You finish that. Okay, here are the tasks. Do this, do this, do this. Boom, boom, boom. Send this message. Done, done, done. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next patient. And for the next patient, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. That's kind of the concept that we were talking about, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're kind of transitioning from like being a platform. When we first started, it was just about calls. You click on a call, you see the notes. There's like nothing to think about. Then we have patients. Then we added tasks. Then we added metrics and dashboards. Now we're adding text and video. Like now is the point where we need to start really organizing. And I think it's a stage where we need to say, what are we as a product? And we're not just a communication platform. We're
a workflow.
We're a workflow tool. And the workflow tool, the more horizontal you are, the more general you have to be. And you're essentially compromising on making that perfect experience. You're always sacrificing. And I think with software, it's easy because you can say, I can carve out like 5 different or 10 different workflows for 10 different personas. Like one for a sales guy, one for healthcare, one for this type of healthcare, one for that type of healthcare. It's not like a car that you're saying like, we're going to make it like this because this satisfies most people. It's like, imagine you can do a car and you can say, I'll make 20, 30 different variations that suit 20. It becomes very complicated in manufacturing. It's not that easy, but with software, it's much easier. And this is the point where we have to like kind of figure out, okay, how does our workflow tool look like? And it's a much different way of thinking. It's thinking like, because we also have to be confident in what we're doing and confident that we're not sacrificing, because we also have to tell people will push back sometimes. People will be like, no, I don't want this. And we'll be like, no, try this. We really think this is going to work. You just need to get used to it and kind of guide them through a certain way. So, certain tools, certain products like Figma, like they rethought how design is done. Like until then it was Adobe Photoshop. It was Adobe XD, maybe more accurately for that stuff. But they said, no, we're going to rethink this. We're going to start from like the drawing board. We're going to say, what do designers want to do? What's most important to them? And they rethought the whole experience. I don't know if it's the right analogy, but like if you look at some of the best softwares, they kind of recreate a way of working, like a way how things are done. WhatsApp, when it came out, before then, it was text. You know how text was before that. Or you even had these other messaging platforms that were very cumbersome and even the digital ones. It just wasn't. WhatsApp was the first one. I don't know if you remember, like 10, 15 years ago when it came out.
What was out there?
Yeah, there was...
Skype had a chat.
He was like chatting through like, I guess, Google Chat. What else? Skype had a chat.
Google Phone, what's it called? Google Voice?
Voice, yeah. I don't know. They change their names all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but there's a lot of messaging apps. WhatsApp kind of, I think, also got it because they were multi-platform. So kind of it was it was actually viral in the sense of like one guy gets it, he tells the other guy, oh, you can get it on Android, I can suddenly communicate with you easily. I think that was also part of it, but also they just reinvented because you look at WhatsApp, you're like, oh, it's just a simple app. But if you ever need a design, you're now thinking about design of messaging, you suddenly realize all the nuance, right? What do they choose to put in it? Like, it's very minimalistic. You look at it and you see, but sometimes you're seeing the text that you wrote, like when you don't go into the message from the outside. So you see the message text the other person wrote. Like, do you ever think about when they do that, when they don't? There's a lot of like nuance in that, and I think, basically what I'm getting at is that a certain point in good software is when you understand your people well and you create a very special experience that is different. It's kind of taking a bet. It requires being a bit bold, but it also, because you understand your users well, they will love it, they will click to it, and they will never see themselves leaving that. And then the whole industry will kind of follow that approach as well. People will start copying you. Back to our idea about patience.
Yeah, I just had a wild brainstorm.
Sure. But let's go. Okay, so back to the idea of patience. So the person we talked to today, similar to what I was thinking a few days ago, is I think from a psychological experience perspective, it's overwhelming. What's my calendar? Who called me? Who this? What if CareCo says, like the way you described it, here's what you need to do today? And maybe even break it down by patients. Basically say, there's 10 patients you need to take care of today. So you see a relatively small list. It says, we know your day is 8 hours. It's estimated to take 7.5 hours. You can do this. And maybe all about timing and ultimately help them increase their time, increase their efficiency. So it's all about how much do you do? What's your time efficiency? What's your velocity? And well, his idea needs to come out.
It's about to burst.
Yeah. I need a tissue, actually. You have a tissue somewhere?
Yeah, there's a roll over there.
Is it too much suspense?
No, I have another idea. While you're
okay, so maybe there's a
after you're talking?
maybe there's a pattern here. Just let me talk, and I'll talk more, and you'll just write it down. Don't forget it. Yeah. So, yeah. So the idea is kind of cute. So today, the way the person we talked to today kind of put it in different words, which maybe is a better term. Queue. It's a queue of people. So basically, you have the system's smart and says, who's the forget about schedules, forget about anything. Who is the most important person to call today from a business perspective? From like that we're going out to bill or that they need our services, and B, who's the most likely to answer. Sort it by that level of priority, and then you're maximizing, and also most likely to answer because they were saying they noticed that a lot of their unbillable all the time that you're doing to search a patient, to try to call a patient, that's non-billable hours, but it's costing you money. So what if you can minimize the non-billable hours? And then you do that, and they said that they've seen an increase of 5% just from that, which is pretty good. And all they're doing is they told us they're taking the logs, the call logs of that person, and they're dumping it of a set of people. They're throwing it into a ChatGPT or something, or saying, who's the best person to call today? Give me the list of orders. And they're saying with that, they saw a 5% increase. So imagine what we could do if we do it properly. That would be incredible. So it's a whole different experience. It's like you come into CareCo, you see your list, you knock it out, you see it getting smaller. So it's also like a satisfaction. It's like you're making progress today. You see the day getting closer to the end. I don't know. It's like for me, I think that concept of like seeing like your workload shrinking and shrinking as you're doing it, as you see on your watch time is getting as you want to go home already. I think that's just a very satisfying like visual guide of like I'm making progress, because sometimes you can find yourself doing so much but you don't feel like you're doing anything. You don't see that, but if you see it and you feel it, it's satisfying, I think, and it's also encouraging and motivating. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. All yours.
Okay. My immediate issue with the entire concept is that care coordination by nature is highly unpredictable.
Incoming.
Because you've got incoming calls. So, my thought is...
You can always reshuffle, recalculate.
My thought is this. Okay, so I have a theory about when is agentic AI important and when is it not just irrelevant, but bad, essentially. And I've said this many times. I believe there's a line in the sand when you're trying to have a two-way conversation about something, because you're trying to change the patient's behavior, because you're trying to change their outcome, their health outcome. In that case, you need a human to have a relationship. And then there's one-way conversations where the patient needs something from a system, medication refill request, an appointment request, something like that. Or you need something from the patient. When's the last time you took X? What was your reading? Something that is very like, very just flat. Just like, hey, okay. So that's something that you could have agentic AI, especially we see where they're going with it. It's getting better and better. That's definitely something you could do. So care coordination, the reason why I think that it's always going to be human is because by nature, care coordination, preventive care coordination is about the relationship. Now, the key in preventive care coordination is typically going to be in the outreach, because I am reaching out to the patient because I have a plan that I'm trying to help the patient with. And that's kind of the point, is that you're reaching out to the patient. When a patient calls back in, I would guess, and this is fully a theory right now, we have to run, and we have the data to look at this, okay?
They want to get something done.
They want to get something done 90% of the
They don't want to have a conversation.
Exactly. 10% of the time, maybe that thing that they need done maybe leads to a conversation. So perhaps what the experience looks like, and I don't know if this belongs to the Care Copilot or the Care Coach that we're going to have, but essentially you kind of enter this zone. Remember our original concept of that Zen mode, whatever? Basically enter the zone that's like a full screen experience, and it could start from your dashboard, and basically it comes this full screen thing, and it's gonna, you have your headset on, and it basically almost like talks you through your day. Like, okay, now we're gonna do this. We're gonna call Shloime, and now I want you to do this. Now click here. We're gonna call, or whatever. It could be speech oriented, whatever. You
To
basically
do with the VR, and you slide back
literally.
on your.
So you go through. So
your
so you go through your day, and you basically have zero distractions. Okay, but on the flip side, you have this little, I don't know if it's the AI coach or the Copilot, I don't know where it belongs, but you basically have an agent that works together with you to essentially accept incoming calls, okay? And the incoming calls, it's going to answer the phone, and it's going to be a very, very good thing. And it's going to be saying, hey, this is an AI assistant with Mendel. Mendel's on the phone right now, but we didn't want to lose your call. So I've got a couple different options for you. If you need something, I'm more than happy to help you with it. Just tell it to me in plain English. I'll be able to help you. If you want to speak to Mendel, I can fit you in to Mendel's schedule at 2:27, because it's going to know my calendar, and it can decide which, if a patient really needs to speak to me, how to bump the next patient or whatever, where to shuffle it. So it could say, I could fit you in at this time. Let me know if that would work for you. Otherwise, just tell me if you need like a medication refill, whatever, I'll just get that done for you. Or if there's an emergency, please hang up and dial 911, which it'll say on the IVR anyway, right? And then this way, it can essentially triage the calls in, but the calls out are always essentially human. I mean, even the way that we're going, they're going to be prepped, meaning we're talking about automatic, let's say 20 minutes before you get a text. Hey, just reminding you that Mendel's going to be calling you in 20 minutes. Just want to make sure it's good with you.
Not available, right?
You're going to be prepared. The patient will be prepared and kind of cushioned by various different automations, but the actual proactive thing is going to be human. So the soul, you keep the soul, which is human, which is, hey, but the human care coordinator is still being fed by our call guide, which is, hey, we know exactly what to say to this patient. Then, so that was idea number one that I had, okay? Which is, first of all, a place for agentic AI that I believe would be valuable. And number two, it'll allow you to have this experience.
And it'll allow us to write agentic AI on our website.
Exactly. And then we could have a $17 billion valuation.
Right.
So that's first of all. Oh, and then worst case scenario, it can interrupt your call. So like at a very, if it's really, really critical, it'll interrupt your flow, basically. But you don't have to worry about you making the decision whether or not to interrupt your flow, because it will make the decision whether or not to interrupt your flow, okay? Idea number two is that as this is talking to your day, and this is why I felt like maybe it's more of a care coach thing, it could be, and this maybe is two separate ideas. I don't know if it's necessarily the same idea, but you're kind of in this TV zone, and let's say you have a call with a patient that's like really difficult, right? It could like coach you to like, and not coach you, it could be like, hey, I think you need a little breather after that call. Try this breathing exercise, or like, I just want you to know you're doing a great job. And I know sometimes patients are difficult. It could like, cause like the way that I have it is kind of like you're in like this gamified space where you're like listening to like a thing. And it's like, I just want you to know you're doing amazing. Like, that patient's probably having a really rough day. As the patient has stage 4, whatever, the kidney disease, and it's really difficult. But you're doing really good. Don't take it personal.
After a conversation, it's like pop up like, hey, I seen your call. it's not nice the way the patient talked to you. Kudos to you that you
That's
were
what I'm saying.
professional. And,
Or maybe like, I want you to do a little breathing exercise real quick. I feel like you need a break. Or maybe it's, hey, why don't you go get a snack? Like you're actually running ahead of schedule. Why don't you take 5 minutes, take a break, something like that. So it'd basically be like this fully immersive.
that's a little tricky because every person needs something
Right.
else. Like, I mean,
Right.
yeah, but the idea behind it, yeah.
What do you think?
Very cool. I think the agentic.
You like? Yeah. The bottom line, just to bring it back to like a small, understandable idea, is to allow somebody the freedom to click a button and be handheld through their day and not worry about making decisions throughout the day. I don't have to decide, do I have to look at this? Do I have to look at that? Do I have to look at this? Do I have to look at that? Oh, but this person's calling in. Oh, but this text message came in, and it all got triggered from you saying like, oh, the text messages, they could be a distraction, whatever.
Right.
You focus on this flow. We're going to take care of everything else, and we will either fit the patient into your flow, or we'll take care of them for you, or we'll interrupt you if it's really, really, but then you don't have to make that decision whether or not you're going to be interrupted.
I think like the underlying thing that this all triggers, the thought that it triggers by me is, what we really have to do is we really have to sit down with real users, like just watch how they work, write down, understand where they're wasting a lot of time, and then start tackling the big items. Like I see they're spending 30% of their day on doing this. What's like finding like the items that are quickest for us and higher impact? It means the combination of the two will have the highest value for us to do, because that's how you suddenly start making them more efficient. And I think we don't know because we're not sitting and watching our users. But if we were able to sit and watch our users, right? I mean, it goes back to what you were saying. Like we have to know what their workflow is. What are they trying to achieve? And then we could present ideas. We can say, okay, by the way, what if I had this thing right over here? Would that be easier for you? And you also have to know how to like take user feedback, because sometimes people don't like change, and people can't envision things the way you can envision. So you have to take their feedback also with a grain of salt, but you have to kind of get the sense of what are they trying to achieve, and how can we make it a much better experience. I think we'll have to like just watch. And I think there's a lot of
we could definitely do that. We could pull users into here. We could sit there.
Right. Exactly. So we have a lot of great ideas. I think it comes down to like what's the biggest.
But another thing that I like about it is that everything only makes sense with other pieces, meaning like the only way this entire idea would even make sense is if we crush the call guides.
Right.
Because the call guides are going to inform how long the conversation is meant to be, and what you're meant to speak about, and how important it is, and what the risk levels are for this patient, and is it really important to talk to this patient about diabetes today or tomorrow? You know what I mean? Like
so, and the fact that we have the phone system, so we can text them right back. We can, we can text, or we can message, or we can hook in the AI. It's much more. Gives us a lot more control.
Right.
And what will be the impact? That's the real question. What will be the value for our customers, other than the amazing coolness of it? Like essentially, we're saving a headache. Like you don't have to focus on. You don't have to be distracted.
I think it's going to be the ultimate efficiency. First of all.
But how often are people calling in? That's the real question. I don't think there's a lot of incoming calls.
Yeah, of course. We can look at it.
I would say it's like 10%. I mean, it's not nothing, but.
No, the inefficiencies are in the decisions. That's where they are. When I
take this call, should I not take this call?
Should I take the call? Should I not take the call? Should I stop now and message this person? Also, I'm going to take the call, and really, they just needed something that could have been done.
Second, here's even better. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not a good idea, but as the AI is doing the intake, it could start showing on the call. It could then present the call and say, patient's calling about XYZ. I'm going to tell him, I'm going to do XYZ. And then if you want, you can answer and be like, no, I'm going to grab this. I think it's important. So kind of also the agent can queue up, get the information. If it's an easy thing, it's not going to show it it's not going to distract the care coordinator. If it thinks the care coordinator may want to know that there was an incoming call from their patient, it's going to say, here's what they wanted. Here's my plan. And the care coordinator will be like, okay, sure, yeah, go do that. Or no, actually, I want to talk to this patient, or I want to, whatever. So it gets tricky when you're like, should we distract? Should we not distract?
Right. I think it should be one of three options. Like only in a very extreme, it should like interrupt. Otherwise, it can reschedule you. So like you want to talk to the person, no problem. I can have them call you at this time. Does that work? No, this time works. Okay, I can do this time. And then I'm getting a call back today at this time. And then it puts it in my schedule.
But in reality, I mean, if they're calling in, then most likely they're interested in the call, so they're not going to not answer. But in reality,
Right.
you know, from Perviva, like getting someone to call, like take the opportunity.
No,
like
but what you just said is 100% correct. If I'm
If it's
calling in, it's
becoming-
because I need something.
Right. Okay.
If you're calling me, that's when it becomes, okay, is this conversation going to be valuable? You know, whatever.
That's a good point.
You know. But, and then simple things like it'll just listen to it. It'll take it, turn it into a task and assign to the care coordinator. And then it'll become part of the flow. Oh, also this patient called in. And then it can even queue up, by the way, it can even queue up a text basically that goes from the care coordinator to the patient, like, hey, I saw you called in. I know the AI assistant answered. I looked over the transcript. I know you wanted XYZ, whatever. I just want to say, you know, I'm sorry I missed your call and looking for it. Well, like, you know, you can like keep on closing the loop over and over and over again. Just make it.
So basically, this is complementary to the idea of a queue of what you need to do today.
Yeah.
Basically, here are 10 patients, and we know that, you know, very important. And the way the queue is, the way the other person described it, it's not even a queue for each care coordinator. It's slightly different than what I'm saying. It's a general queue for the company. You come in, you pop off stuff. You know, everybody, whoever's available. If suddenly I take a 2-hour break, or I'm going for lunch, or I'm done for the day, you know, the high priority people from my list suddenly don't wait for tomorrow, because if they're higher priority than someone else's list, it's going to be on the general queue and they're going to pop it off. So there's some thought there, like how to do that.
Right, because you have to balance that with the fact that a massive benefit that is very important to patients is that they have the same person. So
that too, right?
Company and, you know.
That too, and also the benefit of the person, like I said, like the psychology of like, here's my work of the day.
Right.
Here, I'm done.
Right.
She finished early today. Let me just take the day off.
Right. I would love to get to that point. Meaning, I would love to be a little bit counterintuitive. I don't know if we could do this. Like, I don't know if we can make the business case to spend money on AI and then not give you the ROI on the AI. So that's where it's like a little tricky. But theoretically, I would love to be able to say, hey, right now, it's kind of like shared savings. If you think about it, right? What's shared savings? Hey, government, it costs you $1 million to take care of this patient. I'll do it for $500,000 and you give me $750, right? So with AI efficiency, imagine if we could be like, hey, employer, right now, your person is getting 7 patients done a day, right? We can get them to get 13 patients done a day. And even then, those 13 patients, we could get it done in 6 hours. But got to give those other 2 hours off.
Oh, hey, it's very nice. It's very
no, because the flip side of AI is like, oh, great, so you gave me efficiency, but now you're just it's like when
right.
Pharaoh in Egypt told the Jews, you know, okay, let's see, if I give you money, how many bricks can you lay? And then that became the quota. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, you're so efficient. Okay, now that's what you have to do tomorrow. If you don't do that tomorrow, you're getting written up. Now you're getting a PIP. Now you're getting written up.
Right, but you're not going to tell companies how to manage their employees. That's the. I mean, we could say that, and some people may like it, but ultimately, there's competition, right? If you're, you know, it's a competitive market. So if I tell you, make them work 6 hours, you know, like, but my competitor is going to do the same thing and make them work 8 hours,
right?
And they don't have to charge less.
And the flip side to my argument, which I do believe, is that at the end of the day, people are not lazy and they don't want to work less. They just want to do the things they love doing. So if I could just care for patients and just feel amazing all day, then why would I not do that for 8 hours?
I think that's a trick. Making the care coordinator feel good about their job. First of all, the way we help them guide through their day, making it so smooth and seamless.
Yeah.
And also making them feel good about themselves, making them feel like they're helping patients through all the different ideas that we had. I think that's the trick. That's what makes up. Ultimately, an 8-hour day is not a crazy day. It's a very reasonable time. It's just the stress and the lack of clarity and the overwhelmingness of the nature of this work is what does it. And if we can fix that, then we're good.
Yeah. All right, cool. We're still looking for expert engineers. Did you speak to that guy? You reach out to him?
No, I'm going to message him.
Okay, message him. And yeah.
You have a lot of ideas, right?
Yeah, we got stuff to build. Let's go. Here's to episode 1750.
1750?
19?
Nice. 19, nice.
Good stuff. Brainstorm sesh.